Hi, this is Krisstina Wise, your Millionaire Mindset Coach. I help top performers turn their performance into millions while learning what's required to feel like $1,000,000 at the same time. I teach mindsets and how-tos for building money wealth and health wealth, since both are necessary to be happy. Which is a perfect segue for today's F word, feeling. This is a big F word. So far, we've talked about the faith F word, and we've talked about the family/relationships F word. Each one of these F words are in sequence or in a certain order by design, not by accident. So we talked about faith, we talked about the importance of faith. In order to believe in this big universe is bigger than ourselves, believe that there's some universal intelligence out there that can be a guide, and to learn sort of the practice of letting go, that we don't have to be in control of everything, because in order to move towards happiness, we know we can't control everything. Life is always changing like on a dime. So we really have to get good at letting go and really having faith that things are going to turn out the way they're supposed to. Family and relationships, it's working towards really what are my goals when it comes to family relationships? Are my relationships as healthy as I would like them to be? Do I have enough time to spend with my families as much as I would like to? And what goals could I set in order to have more healthy relationships, to deepen the relationships that I have that are really serving me, and to be able to design my life in a way that I feel as though I get enough quality time with those that I care about. So now today's the third F, feelings. This is a big one. It's a big one because there's lots of reflections when it comes to the feeling category that we want to start with, and there's likely a lot of goals here in order to move us to a place from how we feel today to ultimately how we want to feel in the near future. When I wrote the book, Falling for Money, this third F word, I called it fitness and food, because really at that time, that's the way I was organizing my thinking around how to design my goals with this F word. And it was just the idea of, okay, I need healthy food and I need to exercise. And those are the concerns I needed to be concerned about in order to set my goals. Since then, I've done a deep dive into the study of health. Since my own near-death experience, being optimally healthy has become my personal passion and is so much behind what I teach and what I talk about today. I had to learn this idea of being healthy in order to reverse my health, in order to get my health back. I was so close to death that I had to make serious change in order to have any chance to live and to get to anything back to close to being remotely healthy, let alone optimally healthy. It's been a 2-year journey, and now I've really moved from a place of being near death's door to a place of reversing my health through so much study, but less study and just trust and faith in other experts that knew more than I did. And really using this last 12 months, 2014, to really learn about, okay, if I was able to reverse my illness, that to a place of almost dying and where doctors didn't even know if I would live, to a place of complete reversal, what could I do for optimal health? What could I do for optimal wellness? What would be possible to feel like $1,000,000? And when I learned in this 2014, really in this discovery and in this learning journey, that there's so much more to this taking care of this concern than what I had originally thought. What I've realized for me is that food and fitness are ingredients to feeling healthy, to optimal well-being, into that place of happiness. Because what I've realized for me is we can't just go choose to be happy. We all want to be happy. We all deserve to be happy, but we can't just go put a goal on the goal sheet that says, in 2016, I'm going to be happy. Happiness is a byproduct of a word I've coined that's called healthiness. And so what that means, healthiness equals happiness. So the goal is to be healthy. The goal is our well-being. Many of us, how we organize, let's say, this feeling category, this food and fitness, is about diets. And when we think of diet, we think I need to go on a diet in order to lose 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 pounds. The numbers are relevant. But I think that's the wrong thing to organize around. It's not about weight loss. Weight loss happens automatically when you're healthy because your body is designed for this optimal weight that happens when your body's healthy. So if we're overweight or we have illnesses or we lack energy or we feel stressed out all the time or we have brain fog or we're not sleeping, that's all symptomatic of something going on underneath, that it's our body telling us, hey, Krisstina, you're not healthy. Things are going on underneath here that you can't see and you can't necessarily locate in terms of sensations and feelings, but we're breaking down. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to give you all these signals through your inability to sleep, through being overweight, through having brain fog, through having all these other issues, that those issues are these call outs to say, make change, so that I can be healthy. Because our bodies talk to us. So that's why this F word has changed to be much bigger. Food and fitness, these F words, are ingredients to overall health and well-being. The goal here for 2016, what I want all of our goal, what I'd love our goals to be, is to feel great. And so what I've developed and what I've invented is something I call my Feel Health System. It's my system that's broken down into these different elements and these different ingredients, if you will, of what's required scientifically to be healthy. Healthy in two senses. Healthy in the sense of reversing some illness, reversing these feelings of feeling unhealthy, to this place, like this mid place, to this place of when we get there, assuming we're here and we kind of even think we're healthy, moving to this whole new space of optimal health, anti-aging, feeling great no matter what our age is. And that's what I've been working on, and I'm so passionate about, because once you know these things, you can completely take control of your health and you really can feel like $1 million. Here's the problem. The problem is most conventional wisdom out there that we think's true, that even many of what most of our doctors are telling us, unfortunately or sadly, is just false. New science is telling us so much of what we've designed much of our lives around in order to be healthy is just categorically wrong. So much of what we think we're doing right is actually hurting us, is breaking down our bodies. So that's why I've invented this Feel Health System, so that for this Feelings F category, we have all the layers of what we can do to take charge of our own life, of our own health and well-being. So at my Wealthy Wealthy conference, I'm going to be teaching this in great detail, and I'm going to be bringing my health wealth experts, who my go-to people are, to teach to all this at an even deeper level, because once we know, we can make change. But when we're cognitively blind to what's required to be healthy, we can't make change, and we just wonder why we're sick, tired, overweight, and just don't feel all that great, or we feel like we should be at a different feeling place at this point in our lives. Because here's what we don't want. We don't want to get to the place where we spend our whole life making money and working so hard, while at the same time we're breaking down our bodies, so that the day when we have enough wealth to retire, we're so tired or sick or ill or have diseases that we can't enjoy the wealth that we've worked so hard. So that's why I teach wealth, money wealth, and health wealth at the same time, because like I said, we truly need both to be happy. But on this Feelings F, there's a lot to know. But once we know, it's very easy to make change. And this is, like I said, I'm going to be teaching this in detail, at depth, and you'll be able to set all your goals in your feeling category if you come to the conference. But for this week, for today, I just want to break it down into the places, the parts, where if you don't come to the conference, at least you have some things you can set goals for 2016. So how it breaks down is this. The acronym is FEEL, F-E-E-L, for this Feelings F word. The F is food. Food is critical. We think of food, we just think of food if we think of it all, and we just eat food, and we think food is fuel, and we need food to keep our bodies going, which is true. But when you understand food at a different level, food is medicine. Food is fuel. Food is our drug. Like, we don't even need most drugs. Most people don't even need pharmaceuticals of any kind when they have the right food. but you have to know the difference between food. So I teach food. We teach food. If you followed me on my first Millionaire Mentor Week, I went into some food education and some of my personal food practices, but we have to understand food. And then we choose the diet that basically supports is a system that helps supports that we choose the right foods that nourish our body. Because what food is sure, food gives us energy, but what food, when it's the right food, it's not food, that's just a name we've given it, it's vitamins and minerals. And for our body to perform, to fight illness and to perform optimally, we need the vitamins and minerals, because our bodies use those vitamins and minerals in order to perform every single day, in order to be healthy. So food matters. Quality of food, that means not processed food. It usually means getting rid of gluten. It means no processed foods. It means not getting rid of sugars and highly starchy foods. And like I said, this is a full course in itself, and I teach this in detail, and I'm doing a lot of health coaching for clients right now, but it all starts with food. The second part of the Feel Health system for feeling like $1,000,000 is exercise. Now granted, we all know we should be exercising, and we're probably not exercising enough at all, but exercise differently in the context, just like food. When we understand that food is so essential to our overall well-being, then we become very concerned with the food we put in our body, because we understand its meaning. When it comes to exercise, same thing. It's not about exercise to lose weight. It's not about exercise because we should. It's exercise because our brains use movement as a signal of health. It's exercise because exercise creates, for example, serotonin and produces certain neurotransmitters that produce these feelings of happiness, which is what serotonin is. It's exercise because our cells need the work, sort of that certain level of stress, in order to stretch and to grow. And just like muscles, like when we lift weights, we break down our muscles and the stress of those before the muscle building comes in the recovery process. So exercise is simply a means to being healthy, vibrant. But here's the other side of it. When you learn about how the body is that any extreme is bad. So we need stress, we need a certain level of stress, and some stress like created in exercise, for example, but too much stress, even too much stress from exercise, can totally break down our body. So for example, I thought I was healthy when I was running marathons and high performance, and then of course my life was stressful, my relationships were stressful, I was stressed in business, I was flying all over the country and doing keynote speakings and just living out of a suitcase, and my entire body was stressed all the time. And then I added on the stressful exercise. So my poor body, there was no balance. It was completely breaking down without my knowing it. So too much exercise, for example, is a bad thing. So we have to understand that balance and understand what exercise is. And I teach now sort of exercise programs for optimal health, which means many times it's only exercising like 30 minutes a week. I literally exercise for an hour a week these days, as opposed to 6, 7, 8, 10 hours a week of my earlier years before I learned about exercise. But exercise is important for health reasons, but probably not as much exercise as we think. We don't need to be on the treadmill for an hour 6 days a week. Far less from that. Exercise can be very efficient, fast, and can do exactly what our body needs from it. But we need to learn that. The third part of feel is the third letter is energy. So what most of us don't understand, and I didn't understand, is that when we break all this down, at the sort of some of the smallest level, it's cells. Our body's a bunch of cells. We have trillions of cells in our body. And when our cells are healthy, we have energy. When our cells are healthy, our body just functions and operates. And when our cell membranes are healthy, our hormones and our endocrine system and everything operates seamlessly in a way that's just so beautifully designed. It's magical and it's unbelievable. But when we can start understanding from just layman terms and from a layman understanding, which is my understanding, without even getting close to doctors' levels of knowledge, but what for our own personal well-being, when we see our health as energy, we we can make different choices and set different goals. So now I'm about optimal energy, optimal well-being, and optimal health. And so what that means is my cells need to be healthy. So when I was sick, when we looked at my cells like under a microscope, they were shriveled up like grapes. They were unhealthy, they were dying. When our cells die and our energy stops, what happens? We stop, we die, which was what was happening to me. So now that I understand cellular health, everything I'm doing is to work to have the most healthy cells possible at my age. And there's a few different things we need to be concerned about when it comes to our energy. Number one is nutrition. Our cells need vitamins and minerals. That's what nutrition is. We need series of vitamins. Our cells need certain minerals that's mostly completely missing from our standard American diet. So what that means is we have unhealthy cells because they're malnourished. Our cells are malnourished, believe it or not, because we're not giving them the vitamins and minerals that come from healthy food. The second thing that our cells need is rejuvenation. So we need to stress our bodies to a certain level, but then we have to rejuvenate. So again, like I said before, in the metaphor of working out, we work out hard, our muscles, we break those tissues and fibers down, and our muscles don't grow in the workout, our muscles grow in the regeneration. So sleep is regenerative. The reason why sleep is so important is because when our brain, everything reconnects and rejuvenates. The reason why we need vacations is because that's a time off for our body just to rebalance, to recalibrate itself. We need meditation or yoga or some sort of practices built in that enable our cells down to the cellular level to regenerate. So those vacations aren't important just for mental health necessarily. They're needed for cellular health. So we have to build in to make sure that we're taking self-care, which is rejuvenation, to take care of and giving our cells the opportunity to rebuild themselves. We need healthy detoxification. Most of us, since we don't exercise, we don't sweat, and our elimination system is not detoxifying, getting rid of all the toxins and waste, so they get stuck in our body and they cause our cells to break down or to cause inflammation and these different things that produce illness or lack of optimal health. So we have to have an elimination system that's healthy, and we need a detoxification system. For me, I sauna on a regular basis to help my body detoxify. But sweating, exercise, there's other ways, but we need to be focused on detoxification because that's an important part of cellular health. Then there's circulation and our heart health. So we need to make sure that we work our cardiovascular system. That's where this aerobic thing is really important, again, where this exercise piece can even fit in, because our cells need to circulate. Our white blood cells, our red blood cells need to make it to every parts of our body, especially our brain. So the stronger that our heart pumps, the stronger that our cardiovascular system is, the more our cells can be nourished because they get more of the nutrition, and more parts of our body are get what it needs because we have a very strong circulation system. Again, exercise, deep breathing, concerned with just oxygen and circulation in general. Again, I'm just covering the surface, and I go into each of these much deeper through my different coaching programs, but I just want you to think about, oh my gosh, circulation, never really thought about that before. And then another thing, an important part, is inflammation. Most chronic illness comes from some sort of inflammation. Bad diets cause lots of inflammation in the body. Lack of exercise causes inflammation. Just environmental toxins cause inflammation. So when I almost died of heavy metal poisoning, my brain was inflamed from the mercury, caused lots of brain inflammation. My organs were inflamed because the different heavy metals were getting stored inside my organs and things, but my body was one big inflammation mess. But so many different stress causes inflammation. So if we have stressed out lifestyles, so chronic illness or lack of optimal health a big source of that is inflammation that comes from all these different things that I'm talking about. So those are parts of things to think about when it comes to energy. It's just down to the cells. How are we taking care of ourselves? And food and exercise are two critical components to take care of the cell in all those different parts that I just mentioned. The final part, when it comes to how we feel overall, is what I call quantified self. So it's actually, we have to quantify how we feel. Qualitatively, we can kind of sense like, oh, I think I feel good, or scale to 1 to 10, or today I feel better than yesterday, or I think I'm sleeping okay. But we also need to quantify it in ways and measure so we know what's off, and we do that through labs. So the L is labs, and there's certain labs that we want to get and at least on an annual basis, which are not the labs that most of our doctors are talking about. We want to get our gut health. The reason why most of us are sick is because our guts are not healthy. And our guts, we're learning, our second brain. So when the bacteria in our gut's healthy, when we have healthy guts, that's a first stage to reversing health, is to get our gut health back. Again, we can go in a lot deeper, but we want to get a lab. We want to test, like, how's our gut health? Because that's the first place we can look to make some change as far as feeling healthier. The second lab we want to get is to check our heart health. How is our overall heart and circulation doing? A third lab that we want to get is our vitamins and minerals, is to check out the absorption. Where are we lacking? What are the vitamin and mineral deficiencies we may have that is causing us overall to feel less than optimal? We also need our hormones. The hormones are a big part of our overall feeling of how we feel, and part of our overall endocrine system. So we need to see, like, what's off. Because if our hormones are off a little, we can feel depressed, we cannot be sleeping, we can feel anxious. There's all sorts of things just by our hormones feeling off or being off. We need to get our neurotransmitters tested. What's the relationships and the balance between serotonin versus dopamine versus GABA versus other excitatory hormones like cortisol and these different hormones that if they're out of balance, we can feel depressed, or we just get in the state of fight or flight and excited that can lead to anxiety if our hormones are out of balance. So what affects our hormones? Everything else, what affects our neurotransmitters? Everything else that I already talked about. So so we want to get those tested so that we can look and see what are little places that we can make change. And then we need to get some genetic testing. One of the reasons why I learned why I got so sick is I actually have a genetic predisposition where my body can't naturally detoxify. So why did I get so sick from all those metals? Is because my lifetime I was taking in all this, I was toxifying my body based on my diet, based on things I put on my body and in my house and all these different things, and my body had no natural elimination system. So they got stuck in there until I got so ill, my body and organs just broke down. So those are different testing. So again, can go into a lot more detail, but it's just something to keep in mind that as you're looking into the new year, you might want to start getting some labs so that you can take control of your own health. And then finally, one final piece, and again, if you were with me last Millionaire Mentor Week, we talked a little bit about supplementation. I brought my personal doctor, Dr. Ann Shippey, to talk about the importance of supplementing. And like I talked about earlier, is that our health comes so much from the vitamins and minerals that come out of our food, but sadly our diets, and even in the best of our diets, if our gut systems aren't working right, or just because so much of the food these days is depleted of vitamins and minerals, over 90% of us are deficient in one or more of these vitamins or minerals. Number one, magnesium. Almost all of us are low on magnesium. When we're low on magnesium, we don't sleep that well, and we can feel depressed or out of energy, or it has all sorts of negative manifestations when we're low on magnesium. Omega-3s, those fish oils, are very important. In our American diet, we're just way overdosed on omega-6s, and we don't have enough omega-3s to balance it out, and there's all sorts of negative consequences of being low omega-3. There's vitamin D. Most of us are not out in the sun anymore. We're lathering ourselves up in sunscreens, and we're not getting enough vitamin D. And guess what? Vitamin D, we can feel lots of depression by just not having enough D. Most of our guts, like I said, are not healthy, so we need some probiotics, the good healthy bacteria, so that as we're putting in all these clean healthy foods, eating a really healthy diet, we have the right bacteria to digest, and so that our cells get the nutrients it needs, because the good healthy bacteria is breaking it down appropriately. Then finally, we usually need some sort of multi or at least B vitamins. Again, a big source of like not mental illness, serious mental illness, but mental fatigue or just mental sort of feeling depressed or not optimally healthy comes from like not having enough B vitamins. So you can see that this is somewhat complex on one hand, but on the good news is that it's all broken down in this feel system that I've created, that we can all take total control over our lives when we have the knowledge to be healthy. So first of all, you have to want to be healthy. Second of all, then we all have to learn this sort of new protocol for what's required to be healthy. But the good news is all of us can be. So that's my Feel Healthy system. So what do you do with all this information? I just rambled on because it is a little bit big for today's work. All I would like you to do is just think about how you feel. This feel system that I talked about it's all about how we feel in many different life categories. It's how we feel physiologically. Like, do we have the energy? Do we have the vitality? Do we believe our body is really performing and functioning in the way it's designed to perform and function? But from a physical standpoint. The second part is mental, psychological. Food, exercise, not having enough supplementation or just not having the right, that it affects our hormones and our neurotransmitters and all the things that I talked about can cause our psychology to be off. But there's also other things that we want to look at with our psychology. One part of the fix is what I just talked about is through the protocol that I just mentioned. But we also might want to take a look at other things. If you watched my faith video earlier on, I talked about how I broke down. I broke down physically, but I also broke down mentally, psychologically. Something called PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and it was ugly. It was brutal. But it came from a lot of trauma when I was a child, a significant amount of trauma, and I never dealt with it. I didn't believe in therapy. I thought just, my strong self could overcome it, and I would never have to deal with it until I had to deal with it when it just sort of popped up right in my face and was really dark and ugly. So when we have to be healthy, sometimes we have to take a look, as uncomfortable it is something in my case like some deep-seated trauma that we need to get out of our bodies and address, or just other emotional or psychological parts of our life, that places where we can get stuck. Sometimes we're just sort of stuck in a negative mindset versus a positive mindset. And there's things that we can do to get outside of it. Number one, a lot of it can be fixed with the health feel protocol I talked about. But outside of that are little things that we could do, for example, of how to do a positive gratitude every single day, so we can start our day by thinking about what we can be grateful for as opposed to what's not working. So part of our goal setting is to really check in to how do I feel psychologically? How would I grade myself here? Am I feeling happy, or do I feel more like accountable and more happy days than depressed days? Is there any trauma that keeps haunting me that maybe I want to get rid of this year? Or do I tend to be sort of a complainer, a victim? Things don't work out, I don't take responsibility, and I just kind of am trapped there, but I'd like to get untrapped. So that's another thing to look at. We already talked a little bit about relational health, but we want to look and maybe set some goals relationally. And then just emotionally overall, emotional health, emotional EQ, emotional intelligence. Like, how do we rate on how we can, how we control our emotions versus living in this reactive state all the time where we're always reacting to what's happening to us versus thinking about being very mindful and being in the present and being in control of our own emotions, and then being able to work in a way that our emotions serve us versus they sort of control us. So today's a long video. Like I said, it's a little bit more than what I've discussed so far, but hopefully you learned a few things. But other than that, what I'd like for you to do for today is to physiologically, just physical, how would I rate myself on overall health, vitality, well-being, and then set some goals on what I think I can do as far as improving my diet, adding some more exercise, getting my labs, or maybe some more education on overall health and well-being. Mental health, like really our mental psychological health. I like to use my story, and I'm sharing my story because there's so much stigma when it comes to mental health, feeling depressed, having feelings of anxiety. What I want to tell you now that I'm doing so much coaching and coaching at very high levels is everyone deals with depression or anxiety at some part in their life, and some people it's an ongoing struggle, but it doesn't have to be debilitating. These other things can help us conquer most of it, and then sometimes it's just being in different practices that can really reverse it completely, or just learning to accept some of it if that's the case. But the truth is that we do need to look at it, that we need not be ashamed of it, and set some goals as things that we can do, practices that we can be in to help us maintain as much positive mindset as possible. I've shared with you some of my personal practices. I meditate. The mindfulness keeps me in the present. I've shared with you my practice of journaling, for example. And my daily journaling, I have one of my daily journaling practices is to every day is to write what I'm grateful for. And that simple practice of that daily activity of what am I grateful for starts my day with that feeling of positivity. So these are little practices and goals maybe you can set of things to add to your life in order to feel better. So grade yourself and then set some goals on these different categories. And then again, just that emotional piece is that maybe there's a goal like I'd rather be more in control of my emotions versus them controlling me. And when you set that goal, there's certain practices that you can be in or that you can set or tools that you can use to be able to achieve that goal. So let me know if you have any questions. Like I said, I shared a lot, but at the end of the day, just grade yourself on the feeling category and set as many goals that come to mind based on where you are at the end of 2015 and how you'd like to feel different, feel better, feeling optimal healthy in 2016. And again, it's not about weight loss. I don't want to hear anybody say they want to lose 20 pounds because that's not the goal. The goal is health. I want to be healthy. And if you say I want to be healthy and I'm willing to do what it takes to be healthy, the weight will fall off. You will naturally get to the weight that's meant for you and your body, and you're just going to feel amazing, which, like I said, that's where we all deserve to be. All right, I'm signing off. You can see I'm passionate about this and I can talk forever, so I'm letting you go. I can't wait to hear how it goes for you. Talk tomorrow.